Okay, let's unpack this. What if one of the most iconic sci-fi movies ever, Back to the Future, isn't just, fun adventure? What if it actually holds a deeper secret, a blueprint for transforming your reality, hidden in plain sight?
It's a pretty wild idea, isn't it? Especially for fans, people who love the movie but are also into manifestation. This concept that it might have a kind of synchromistic code baked in. It's fascinating.
Exactly. So today on the deep dive, that's what we're exploring, how Back to the Future might symbolically show us mental time travel and how that connects really directly to manifestation. Our whole mission here is to show how the movie's story can actually be a powerful guide for inner work, for, reshaping your own reality.
And a lot of these insights, we should say, come from the work of Max Westerly. He's an author, a researcher, spent over 20 years looking into lucid dreaming, manifestation, and, yeah, the specific idea of mental time travel.
You make a really compelling case.
Okay.
It's quite something.
Absolutely. And, for anyone listening who feels a spark, who wants to go deeper into the actual how-to of mental time travel, we've put a link in the description to Max Westerly's work.
Yeah, definitely check that out if this resonates. It's worth exploring.
For sure.
So let's start with that term you used, synchromistic code. What exactly are we talking about there? Sounds a bit out there.
It can sound that way, yeah.
Yeah.
But synchromysticism is basically the idea that sometimes certain films or stories tap into deeper, maybe spiritual or archetypal truths, often without the creators even consciously knowing it. It's like the collective unconscious, planting these little seeds of wisdom right in our pop culture and Back to the Future. Well, it fits that mold really well, especially with its themes of time, belief, and personal power.
Okay, okay. And you mentioned a core message. There's that line that gets repeated, right? By Marty, by Doc. If you put your mind to it, you could accomplish anything.
Exactly. That line.
On the surface, it just sounds like, standard motivational fluff,
Yeah.
like something you'd hear in a pep talk. But you're saying there's more to it.
Oh, absolutely. Look at it through a metaphysical lens, that phrase.
Yeah.
It stops being just encouragement and becomes more like a key, a mantra pointing straight towards consciousness-based time travel. It's a hint that the real time machine isn't the car, it's your mind, your consciousness. No 1.21 gigawatts needed.
Right, right. Okay, so let's connect that to Marty's actual journey. He gets zapped back to 1955 by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, his whole existence depends on getting his parents to fall in love. It's this crazy race against time to fix things.
It is. But if you look at it symbolically, that whole trip is a perfect picture of mental time travel.
Yeah.
He goes back to this really pivotal, maybe even you could say traumatic point in his parents' past, the very foundation of their relationship.
And what did he do there?
He doesn't just rearrange events. He changes how they interpreted that time, how they felt about themselves and each other. He's shifting their energy, their confidence, their core beliefs.
Like helping his dad, George, find his backbone against Biff.
Exactly that. And helping his mom, Lorraine, sort of reconnect with her vitality, maybe clearing away some of the shame or resentment that colored their future life. He's not just fixing logistics. He's healing their emotional past.
And the payoff is huge. When he gets back to 1985, his whole family life is different, totally transformed.
Completely. George isn't the timid guy anymore. He's a successful author. Lorraine is vibrant, happy. Marty himself seems more confident. Things are just better.
So what actually changed?
Well, according to this interpretation, Marty changed the inner timeline, the emotional and energetic story of his family's past. And the film just shows us visually. You change that inner stuff, and the future you step into, it reflects those changes. It's a really powerful allegory on screen.
That makes so much sense viewed that way. But okay, for listeners thinking, great, but I don't have a plutonium-powered sports car.
Yeah.
How does this mental time travel actually work for us in real life? How do you heal the past without, actually going back?
Right, the practical side. Mental time travel essentially is a meditative practice. It's about vividly imagining yourself moving into your past or your future. But it's much more intentional than just daydreaming. You're consciously going on a journey to interact with those other points in your timeline. The goal is to actually alter your emotional programming, to shift your energy, your state, and basically recode your subconscious mind. You don't just watch, you engage, you feel it.
Wow. Okay. But how does that work?
Yeah.
I mean, consciously, time feels pretty fixed, right? Past is past.
Yeah, our conscious minds see it that way. But the subconscious, that's where it gets interesting. Your subconscious mind doesn't really grasp time like that, not linearly. So from its perspective, a really painful event from your past, maybe a moment of deep fear or shame or feeling abandoned as a kid, it's kind of still happening energetically. It's still active, influencing you now, unless you go back and change the emotional meaning it holds.
So it's like an open loop, emotionally speaking.
Exactly. And that's why mental time travel can be so deeply transformational. You're closing those loops.
Okay, so walk us through. If someone wants to try this, to go back and, say, heal an old wound, what do they actually do?
Right. You'd start by getting into a relaxed state, meditative, calm. Then you'd gently guide your awareness back to a specific moment, a memory where you felt that fear or shame or whatever the difficult emotion was. See your younger self there. Then your present-day self, the wiser adult you, steps into that scene. Not to re-experience the pain, but to offer comfort, to offer wisdom, reassurance to that younger you.
What kind of things would you say?
You might vividly imagine saying things like, hey, this wasn't your fault, or you did the best you could, you were never broken, or simply, I love you, I see you, you didn't deserve that. You could visualize giving your younger self a hug, really feeling that connection. The key, and this is crucial, is generating real emotional intensity. Maybe tears come up, maybe waves of love. That's good. That's the signal.
And that emotion, that intensity, why is that the absolute key? What's it doing on a deeper level?
Because emotion is the language the subconscious understands best. In that heightened emotional state, your subconscious gets a powerful new message. The old program, like I'm not safe or I'm not good enough, gets actively overwritten. It doesn't delete the memory, but it changes the feeling attached to it. It alters its emotional encoding, you could say. And that frees up your present self from those old patterns, those unconscious blocks that cause self-sabotage.
So by healing the past emotional charge.
Exactly. Manifestations that were maybe blocked before, maybe related to worthiness or safety or love, they can start to flow much more easily into your life. The resistance dissolves.
Okay, that covers healing the past.
Yeah.
What about the other direction? Programming the future. How does visiting your successful future self work?
It's a very similar process, just focused forward. You shift your awareness ahead in time, maybe 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever feels right. And you vividly imagine meeting the version of you who has already achieved your goal.
So if you want a successful business,
you'd visualize walking into a scene where that business is thriving. Maybe you see yourself feeling confident, celebrating a win, getting positive feedback, maybe even checking a healthy bank balance.
Yeah, and it's not just watching.
No, definitely not. You step into that future self, you feel what they feel. Confidence, joy, pride, relief, whatever it is. You might even have an inner dialogue, like your present self saying to your future self, wow, you did it. I'm so proud of you. Look how far you've come.
And the emotional intensity is key here, too.
Absolutely critical. The more intensely you feel the success, the accomplishment, the joy now in the meditation, the more your subconscious starts to accept that future as real, as inevitable almost. It starts aligning things to make it happen.
Yeah, you hear terms like quantum jumping thrown around a lot in these kinds of discussions.
Yeah.
How does mental time travel fit in with that? Is it the same thing?
That's a common question, yeah. They sound alike, but there's a key distinction usually. Quantum jumping often implies shifting to a whole different parallel reality, like jumping onto a completely separate timeline where things are different. Mental time travel, as we're discussing it, is more about working within your current timeline. Moving forwards or backwards along that line to change the emotional landscape, the energetic terrain of your own life story.
Okay, so one's like changing channels, the other's like editing the current program.
That's a decent analogy, yeah. But the important thing they both emphasize is the neurological and emotional impact. Because at the end of the day, your subconscious mind, the gatekeeper to your reality, responds most powerfully to emotion, repetition, and deep-seated belief. Not logic.
Which brings us back to what seems like the absolute core message here.
It really is the foundation of all this.
Yeah.
Simple, but profound. Emotion is the programming language of the subconscious mind. Full stop.
So just visualizing isn't enough.
Often, no. You can visualize a mansion all day long, but if you don't feel worthy of it, if you don't feel the joy of living there, if there's no emotional charge, it's unlikely to stick. Your subconscious isn't convinced. That's why mental time travel is so powerful. It inherently involves deep emotion. Healing the past brings up compassion, release, love. Visiting the future brings up joy, confidence, excitement.
So one really deep, emotionally resonant mental time travel session could potentially do more than, say, weeks of just repeating affirmations without feeling them.
Absolutely, because you're giving the subconscious the feeling it needs to understand the instruction. It goes right back to Marty in the movie. He didn't just change events, he changed how George and Lorraine felt about themselves. And those new feelings unlocked totally different actions and outcomes.
So mental time travel isn't really sci-fi fantasy.
Not in this context, no. It's about consciously changing the emotional landscape of your timeline. And when you do that, your outer reality tends to naturally shift to match it.
So bringing it all back to the Future, it really does feel like a complete blueprint when you look at it this way.
It maps out perfectly, doesn't it? Think about it. Marty starts in 1985 with this pretty dysfunctional family setup, low self-worth vibes all around. George is meek, Lorraine seems regretful, Marty feels stuck.
The initial state.
Right, then the intervention. Marty goes to 1955. He doesn't just make sure they meet, he actively injects confidence into George. He shows him courage is possible, he helps him stand up for himself. It's a direct, energetic rewrite.
Changing the core belief at a key moment.
Exactly. By helping his father choose empowerment over fear in that crucial punch scene, he alters the emotional trajectory George carries forward, and the result.
The transformed 1985. The successful author dad, the vibrant mom, the more confident Marty. Same house, totally different energy.
It's a perfect illustration. Go back to where fear or shame took root, change the emotional interpretation with understanding and courage, and then return to your present to find new possibilities unfolding, like a weight has been lifted.
So clearing those blocks allows things like abundance or success to flow in because the internal resistance is gone.
Precisely. And having programmed the subconscious with a feeling of future success, it starts working for you, arranging circumstances to match that new inner reality.
Okay, so let's revisit that quote one last time.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. What's the deepest meaning now?
Seen through this lens, it stops being a platitude and becomes like a fundamental spiritual truth. It means your mind is your timeline editor. When you use it consciously with intention, meditation, visualization, and crucially, that deep emotional presence, you really do become the author of your own story. You're not just reacting to life.
Because the subconscious doesn't distinguish past, present, future.
It just knows what you feel strongly and believe deeply, and those feelings and beliefs are what dictate what you attract and allow into your experience.
Wow. It's kind of amazing how Back to the Future, this fun, beloved movie, wraps up such profound ideas in a story we all connect with.
That's the magic, isn't it? We root for Marty fixing the past. We feel that thrill when he returns to a better present. And maybe somewhere inside, we recognize that potential in ourselves, not needing a time machine, but realizing the power we have to change our inner narrative.
Yeah, it's a great reminder.
Let the film be that reminder that you can talk to your past self with kindness, that your future self, they're already cheering you on, and that your own mind is the most powerful bit of tech there is. That's the real flex capacitor.
And just one more reminder for everyone listening. If you want to explore the techniques of mental time travel more deeply, put your mind to it. That link to Max Westerly's work is right there in the description.
Definitely. Because if Back to the Future teaches us anything useful beyond hoverboards, it's that the journey you take inside yourself, that can be way more transformative than any literal trip through time. You don't need the 1.21 gigawatts, just the power that's already within you.
So a final thought for everyone. Next time you watch Marty McFly hop in that DeLorean, maybe ask yourself, what timeline inside of me am I ready to rewrite?